don't believe. And here we are. Glorious morning, Pythians. Another Beyond the Price episode. Different lineup as the past couple weeks. I'm taking Chop's spot, but Mark is back.
Seems I'm becoming a regular.
Yeah,
Taking over your job, it seems.
new. I'm getting pushed out, or we're getting pushed out. Mark will be running those by himself soon. But no, another one. We're on number 9. Exciting one with Avantis coming this week. Seraj, who's been building Avantis since mid 2023, I believe. Great product powered by Pith. But no, how are you doing today, Mark?
Doing glorious. Last week, and we had a wonderful kind of 15 week in Portugal. But this week is back to basics, back to work, back to the trenches.
Lots of people were last week.
Quite a bit, but vibes were high, and work output was high too.
Nice. Let me tweet from personal, and I will post in Discord as well.
With the new times today, it's a bit late for Chop. Chop's back down under, and this is quite too late for him. But I think next time is back to the classics, so you should get your traditional lineup.
I do not know who's next week, but surely we'll get you a good one. Let me quickly do this in the Discord so people know we're on, and Sahaj should not be a couple more minutes, but oh no, and then here we go. Now, no, still waiting. Any cool news recently, Mark? Or
I mean, we just announced something pretty cool this morning. USDHL, so that's the kind of the hottest table I feel on HyperEVM. The whole idea of USDHL is to kind of have a yield-bearing stablecoin on Hyperliquid. I'm kind of blanking on what do they do with the yield. Do they buy hype or do they pay out yields? I actually can't recall.
I don't either.
I'll check this. But it's been like, I think they've already minted north of 50 million of these stablecoins. So bunch of DeFi usage. And if you're a HyperEVM guy, you might be on the lookout and see the first like DeFi apps there launching it with the Pith price feed. Because I think Pith is the only oracle with a USDHL feed available. And as you all know by now, once the feed is live, it's permissionlessly available on over 100 chains. So we could even see USDHL beyond HyperEVM.
Oh, and I mean, it's sponsored as well, so it's super easy to use for HyperEVM builders. And I see Sehaj is backstage. Let's get him on. Sehaj, GM, how are you doing, sir?
GM servers. Good to see you guys.
Yes, good to have you on. Thank you for taking the time. I believe you're probably be a bit busy in New York for permissionless, or where you've been attending a couple events, I believe.
Yeah, pretty much. Busy New York and busy dying in the heat, man. There's a heat wave here. Crazy.
Seen pictures, and I could almost smell the sweaty New Yorkers from here. But
Yeah.
no, I think yeah, apparently it was like over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so that gets a
Yes.
little steamy.
Yes, it does.
Very cool. Any cool couple cool events you've attended so far?
I think like kind of like all conferences, I don't go to the main events. I just go to the side ones. And so yeah, lots of cool ones. Got to meet a lot of my friends, like people who are building on Avantis as well. A lot of new teams that are building using our SDK. And so very exciting.
Very cool. To kickstart, easy one. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and maybe Avantis that you've been building for a while?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi everyone, my name is Sahaj. I am the co-founder of Avantis, a perps DEX on base that's focusing on real world assets. We're building an AMM based perp dex because we're pretty bullish AMMs in a time when everyone is talking about on chain clubs. We are still doubling down on the AMM architecture. It's allowed us to offer a lot of exotic assets like crude oil, gold, silver, metals, and soon equities as well. We've been working with Pith since day one. It's been 2 years now working with Pith, and we'll continue to work with them on a lot of new products. We've innovated consistently on the not just on the RWA side, offering uh, perpetuals on exotic assets, but also on the crypto side, offering new ways to trade. So recently launched a new type of perpetual called zero fee perp, where people can trade very high leverage, zero fees upfront, and then only pay from their profits. So the goal is, to kind of keep innovating not just on the types of assets, but also how you can trade them. And so expect more derivatives coming from our team this year on base. So that's a bit about me. I think before I started working on Avantis, I was working at Pantera as a VC, so was very familiar with the DeFi landscape. Always wanted to build an app, even though I kind of I saw so many infrastructure companies out there. I said, okay, it's time to build an app, time to get real users on chain, and that's a bit about me.
So you did the meme but reversed, because usually it's like build long enough in crypto to become a VC, and you just did the exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly,
How did you end
exactly.
up like, let's say, at Pantera or even in crypto in the first place? Were you kind of TradFi VC beforehand and it was just like quite funny to get into crypto, or like what did lead you to Pantera?
Yeah, I was working in investment banking at this firm called Lazard, doing M&A, and I mean, I was just mostly like looking at buying something. I was like right out of college, and I wanted to grow my wealth like everybody else does. And I figured, like, what can I buy? I could not buy stocks. Lazard said, You have inside information. You can't do that," which is not true, but still. So all I could buy is crypto. And so bought a bunch of Ethereum on a friend's recommendation on Robinhood, which is the worst platform to buy Ethereum at. Fully custodial and not regulated at the time. But I think bought it and then it went down 40%, like in the peak of after the peak of 2021, and that's when I figured like I should read up on what I'm buying. That's a good idea. So when I read up on it, I think a lot of buzzwords, decentralized, permissionless, um, didn't mean much to me, and then I just opened Aave one day to get some yield on my spare Ethereum, and that's when it made sense to me that hey, some degen from across the globe is borrowing money from me without me even knowing. And that's what permissionless means. And so I think I got attracted to crypto because of crypto apps and not because of crypto price action, which is why I have this bias of like, hey, let's build something cool. Let's keep experimenting. Um, I'm not like an OG who bought Bitcoin early and like basically got wealthy off of it. I'm an Ethereum user who got into DeFi because of the magic of DeFi. And so that's how I kind of got in, and I was like, okay, wow, I gotta like start high level. So let's do VC first, given my background, and then let's dive in and then kind of let's build slowly in the space. So been going down the risk curve and also the degeneracy curve over time.
Very cool, very cool. And so one key thing that comes up, that comes up to mind is Avantis is one, regularly the top perp dex on base. So one question I have for you, or I guess the two-pronged question, is why base, and how has been your experience of building on base so far?
Yeah, so why base is very clear. Look, we always wanted to I still believe that the Coinbase kind of distribution means a lot. I think any blockchain can innovate on latency, can innovate across like different fronts. But I think ultimately if a blockchain does not have a strong GTM motion, there's going to be no apps building on it. And this was our thesis 2 years ago before Base even started. Um, and even the time when Base launched, and it consistently had only like 50 million TVL for like 5 months straight. And so, fast forward today, it's one of the bigger L2s in the EVM space alongside Arbitrum in EVM, and then also across non-EVMs, competing with Solana, competing with Mega ETH. And so we're bullish on Base because of the distribution Coinbase brings. And so far, that's been like relatively true. I think it's been more true of certain verticals than others. For example, for derivatives, there's no special treatment. We don't get any incentives. Versus on other chains, there's definitely a lot of incentives and stuff. But I do think that at a ecosystem level, it's a very exciting and dynamic place to build. Um, how are we doing in terms of on the technical side? There's been problems for sure. Like base is very popular, but because of that, it gets very congested as well. And so you consistently see like chain outages because there's so much demand coming from like degens who are generally trading spot. Um, when Avantis launched its testnet, we also clogged base testnet. So it's very easy to do that on an EVM chain where throughput is like, it's 2 second block times and throughput is constrained by the nature of the EVM. But a lot of improvements coming in the future to base. I think one of the ones we're excited about is flash blocks, which makes scalping very easy. So people can trade in and out of Avantis within just 400 milliseconds, which is a big improvement for us. With current orders, currency takes like 4 seconds to settle fully. And so I think to answer your question, like it's been a great experience. Definitely frustrating on the developer side at times when the chain crashes, and as a perp dex, you can never stop really. Um, and shared state does not exactly help perps in most cases. However, I think very excited about the future, very excited about the alignment we have with the ecosystem. I think that alignment is what's uh, given us a lot of credibility, and we're very excited about kind of the whole chain and the ecosystem going forward.
I think, and I think great pick with Base, and I think we've seen so far, like with Coinbase, they've actually, I think I saw the number, 1 billion of TVL they managed to get, let's say, from the centralized exchange to Base through their Morpho slash Earn kind of integration. I think it's the only one I've seen done by Coinbase so far where it leverage a DeFi protocol on their own chain.
Yes.
I
Yes.
guess the Earn product wasn't the biggest like money making product on their end, so could be nice. I don't know if it makes sense for them to do it via derivatives, like
Yeah.
on base, but it would be pretty fun and like it would bring like it could 10x your distribution and value transmitted overnight, I think.
I mean, that would be the dream. Like that would be why we're building on base, right? You hit the nail on the head there. It's a far-fetched dream. I think the reality in the middle, in the interim, is that Coinbase is launching perpetuals in the US in a licensed way. And so they're doing kind of our work on educating the US retail customers on what it means to trade perpetuals and get into kind of like a higher risk asset or higher risk derivative. And once the top of the funnel increases, Coinbase users will be like, okay, what's next? 50x on Coinbase is great, but now I want 500x on Bitcoin, right? Where can I get that? Oh, apparently Coinbase it has Avantis on base. Let me try that out. So I think there's a small funnel there that we can take advantage of. Especially, of course, we don't offer the product to US users, but even for like Canadian users or Coinbase users in Europe, I think it's a big funnel for us there. And then eventually, as you said, Mark, the goal is obviously like to be integrated into base. But I think for that, we need to be a lot bigger. And we have a lot of plans to kind of technically get there. Yeah.
Amazing. And so you talked about just a few minutes ago about the zero fee perpetual that was launched a few months back, let's say, where you got the three top markets likely BTC, ETH, and Sol. So as a trader, it sounds good. I'm not going to pay any fees, but on the upside, that means no revenues, no revenues, no fees. Can you tell us a bit more about how it works? Because it's not just zero fee for everyone.
Exactly. So zero fee upfront or zero fee until win is kind of another way to put it, is the right way to put it, actually. But the way it works is yes, most traders will lose alpha on scalping because they'll want to scalp for, let's say, a 10-minute timeline or like a 30-minute timeline. But they're just paying so much fees in and out of the scalp. In some cases, takers pay 10 bips, in some cases, takers pay 5 bips, but that still like adds up in terms of collateral decay. And so we remove that, first of all. There should be none of that. especially if you lose. And then even for like a half an hour hold or 1 hour hold in like very skewed markets, you might end up paying a couple of bips in funding or borrow fees. So we remove that as well. And we keep the minimum leverage to be a little higher so that positions on average are like meant to be held intraday or maybe at most a couple of days. So we see like all of these ZFP, like zero fee per positions be open at most for like a couple of days, 3, 4 days. But then mostly these are like very short, like half an hour, 1 hour, kind of quick scalp bets. And so the way it works is zero fees up front, zero slippage as well, but not always. We try to emulate the order books of, as you know, like Binance, Coinbase, etc. synthetically. And then when you win, there's a profit share of any as low as 5%, as high as like 30%. And if you lose, again, no profit share. You just obviously lose your collateral based on market movements, but no like fees taken from that collateral. And so we launched this in April in public beta. We're still in beta, learning a lot about trading behavior and risk. Um, but then we saw that like Avo also launched something called DGen mode right after. We saw that Drift also launched zero fee for 100x plus trades. And so I think people are taking notice, which is a great feeling. I think OGs taking notice is always a good feeling. So that's a bit about the product and the current kind of GTM.
And now on Avantis, like, all majority of the Bitcoin trades with zero fees option enabled, or is it still like 10%, or has it now actually taken over your platform?
It's taken over our platform. I think that's something we did not anticipate, because we expected this to be an addition to the fixed fee revenue streams. But there is some level of cannibalization, which is interesting because ZFP starts at a minimum leverage of 75x, but we still see every trader like just so much more excited about the potential of making more on ZFP, and people do make a lot. Like if you look at our internal analytics, since inception, ZFP traders have made as much in gross profits as they've lost, which is a very good hit rate. It's not like you would expect on high leverage people lose all their money, but we've got some really good scalpers who like know how to kind of do trading well, and as a result, the win fees have been good from that. But there's also been cannibalization on the fixed fee side of the business. So to answer your question, about 75% of all fees are now ZFP fees.
And could it make sense, or is it in the plan to have this on all pairs, or you still kind of, I guess, iteration period, and or not?
Yeah, it will definitely make sense. We need a more, I think as a platform, offering like a product like ZFP is very risky, to be honest with you. And so it only makes sense when you have strong hedging mechanisms in place, either via market makers or by yourself being the market maker. And so a big lesson for us and a big push for the next couple of months is how do we build a simple but effective internal market maker that can allow us to offer ZFP across a lot of our assets, such as hyperliquid, Fartcoin, a lot of the riskier assets, but also the ones that are traded a lot. And it will also allow us to offer a lot of exotic RWAs in a meaningful way with meaningful liquidity. So we can offer like Coinbase stock with 10x leverage, or we can offer like Circle. But we need to have kind of that infra in place to be very smart about risk and hedging, because at the end of the day, we are offering this on an AMM where it's very taker friendly, but then it might not be LP friendly. So yeah, I hope that helps.
And actually, I wanted to touch upon this, as you said, the LP. As far as I know, at least as far as I can think right now, you're the only derivatives protocol where you have two type of LPing on the protocol, and almost kind of link well with your traditional background, where you call it like junior trenches and senior trenches, as in you can LP with more risks, and that's, I guess, you're exposed to the smaller assets, more volatile assets, but can get higher yield, more risk, so potentially more losses, or more likely to lose some. And you had the senior trench that yield less, but should have less adverse effects long term. So is it true that you're the only derivatives protocol with this design? And keen also to like hear you kind of talk about it, why you came up with this, and how has it been working so far?
Yeah, I think we came up with this for the simple reason that all LPs should not be equal in a DEX. I think long-term LP should be favored more than short-term LPs or mercenary LPs. And so we have a mechanism. Of course, you mentioned the tranches where at the high level, people take different risk based on their own unique risk return profile. But the real differentiator is when you go into any of these tranches and you can lock capital, that gives you a higher share of fees as well as Avantis XP. And so if you're an LP that's locking capital for 6 months, soft locking it, then you're making a promise to be in the protocol for 6 months, and there's a certain unlock fee associated with that. But I think still, like your promise means that you deserve a higher share of fees versus someone who's not willing to make that promise. And so that was an experiment we ran and back in the day, and it's still a big part of the protocol. The upside is it's helped us get stickier liquidity. So like the TVL you see on Avantis in DeFi Llama, it stays very sticky. It doesn't change too much because people are kind of locking at all times. But the downside is that it breaks composability. And so I can't take the vaults and kind of put them into a Pendle or another like DeFi protocol like Moonwell. And we want to do that because at the end of the day, we want to amplify the yields of our LPs. And so the future of Avantis, the very near future, I should say, the next 3 months, we'll be unifying both vaults into a single vault with no locking. And so no holding LPs hostage or creating kind of different revenue streams based on the LP's time duration. And then make sure that we kind of partner with a composable provider, a composable DeFi protocol to enhance LP yields and then grow the pie. So it was a cool experiments. Not all experiments are they work out perfectly, but we're glad we tried because we learned that this is where we have to go in the future.
Amazing. One quick one that I guess was a big news, let's say a month ago, is your Series A fundraise. How did it go? And yeah, I mean, what does it unlock for you guys coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's new news, but it's technically old news. We like wrapped it up last June, as per the article, and so we chose to announce it now because I think we want to show all that we've done. Right? It's been 1 year since the fundraise announcement. What has happened since then? Since we raised that capital, have we grown into that kind of um, a team that deserved it? And I think like obviously the signal is yes, we have. In that last 1 year, we've launched 50 plus assets on the platform. We're close to crossing 10 billion in cumulative volumes. We're doing 6 mil run rate revenues as well. Quickly onboarding a lot of new users. Launched a net new type of derivative that's never been seen before, and have plans to do a lot more with that kind of capital, which we outlined in the fundraise announcement. So I think the point was to announce it later to kind of align with our growth plans and our kind of goals for this year, especially decentralization, so the Avantis token. And yeah, wanted to highlight like and celebrate all that we've done, but also kind of recognize that the journey we're on is a very competitive one, and we have the right partners backing us on that journey.
I mean, combining this news and like you also kind of announced a few upcoming things. And Burke's question in the chat, people have had their eyes on leverage sports trading or leverage like prediction market. So is this kind of the Avantis to become the go-to DJing, predicting gambling app, or I mean not gambling, predicting, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And gambling is also fine. Hedge, gamble, predict, invest, like it's all good. Um, Yes, the answer is yes to that. We want to be the all-in-one app for all leverage needs of users. That includes obviously not just feeds on real-world markets, real-world assets as we have them right now, like dollar yen, but also feeds on real-world markets. And so markets means like prediction markets, sports markets, anything that has a feed can be traded on Avantis. And what we have to do as a team to make that happen is obviously have a modular enough architecture that can support any feeds, even beyond pith, Mark, even like feeds that are like non-pith feeds, that will offer sports odds, for example, stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And then accept, kind of have pith feeds for assets, and then have non-pith feeds for markets. And on our side, create a strong mechanism for hedging LPs of the volatility of that risk, while charging takers for kind of the risk premium that they have to pay to get access to those markets. And so, absolutely, we are excited about sports as well. Not immediately for sure, it'll take a long time, but it's in the roadmap. I think what we're most excited about right now is equities.
One thing, and I wonder if it maybe you're already thinking about this, but maybe more mid or long term. Um, do you think you will kind of keep, I mean, in maybe, and maybe my question will be wrong, but keep in house, let's say, the risk management, let's say, this hedge, um, or kind of follow the model most ball lendings are trending towards to? Like initially ball lending, like Aave, pretty much it's the Aave DAO that manages all the risks, etc. You've seen Morpho, Euler, Silo go the vote manager way, when pretty much the product is just code. And you have other people, usually TradFi brains or people that know how to efficiently manage risk now, actually building custom products for, let's say, Morpho almost, or Euler, let's say it this way. For Avantis or for derivatives in the broader sense, does it make sense to kind of almost for you, you just provide the market, etc., but all the liquidity, you could have like multiple liquidity vault, one built by Gauntlet, one built by a trading firm, etc. Or very much you want to kind of keep in-house this management, risk management?
Yeah, I think if you become that big, it's a good thing. We've not gotten there yet. But for derivatives, as you said, you hinted at, it's generally not a good idea to outsource risk parameters to other counterparties, because you kind of very uniquely and intimately understand your risk architecture better. And so I don't foresee us getting to a point where we outsource these functions to other people, because we continuously are developing our own like risk models and refining them. Given we're so unique in like what we offer, like zero fee perps is like, how can I outsource something that I myself am just gathering data on, where trading behaviors are changing like every day. And so I think that's kind of the trade-off there, that we are not sure ourselves, and so we never outsource it. Yeah.
I mean, so also the Mercer question in the chat, and I almost wanted to ask you about this because arguably on various verticals. Um, I mean, maybe we can take on Mercer questions, but one thing I wanted to ask you on in addition, let's say, is how did Hyperliquid kind of like incredible success change your life or change Aventis life? Like, I guess, I mean, I would have imagined now more people trade on chain. So arguably you might see more traders now. Okay, they've tried Hyperliquid, they try other things. So did you kind of gain volume, gain user post Hyperliquid success? Or is it kind of still everyone fights for the same amount of people?
Yeah, well, a couple of questions in there. I'll answer the quicker ones first. And so, do we fight for the same users? Yes, we do. For the most part, we fight for like similar user base of like, in my eyes, like there's about 100,000, maybe 200,000 actual perp traders on chain. Um, and so it's a small pie, but it's all like, large users in terms of like wallet size. Large users with a very large capacity for risk. And so we all want them for sure. So the pie hasn't increased, I would say. But I definitely think that the valuations of perp dexes in terms of comparables have gone up since Hyperliquid proved that, look, perps are a core primitive in crypto. And then if you can build an L1 around the perp, but you can't build like perps on an L1. So that's how important they are. And kind of using perps as like a flywheel to build spot, build L1, build money markets is the better move. And like that's where kind of we are going as well. Like we're using perps as the flywheel, then comes the money market, then we'll have other primitives on Avantis as well as a dApp. And so to answer your question, no, no more users, but definitely a lot more excitement about the space, a lot of rejuvenation of what it means to compete in the on-chain landscape. You can actually compete with a centralized exchange. Then wow, that's an unlock. We did not know that perps on chain are ready to compete with the big boys. Yes, we are. Avantis also is. We are ready to build new products that Coinbase or Binance or OKX simply cannot offer. Stuff like zero fee perps. We can offer assets that they cannot offer. Stuff like equities. Um, so that's a great thing, I think, from a excitement and comparable companies valuation perspective. And so to answer the user's question, though, how are Hyperliquid and Avantis different? First of all, Hyperliquid is an L1. Avantis is an app built on Base, so like structurally and technically, a lot of differences there. Hyperliquid is a fully on-chain club, so a central limit order book. We are building an AMM, so anyone can deposit money and earn a yield on it. And I think the key differences between us and them is they're much larger, for sure, 100x larger, great team, great execution. We are targeting a very different sort of market and user base. So, like, what we try to do is innovate across the ways you can trade the same assets that Hyperliquid offers. So, for example, trading Bitcoin with much higher leverage or zero fees is something we pride ourselves in. And we also pride ourselves in offering net new assets that just don't exist on chain, courtesy PIT, obviously. So, stuff like Turkish lira, dollar yen. You see a lot of users like hedging their FX, business FX needs on Avantis. So, I think focusing on real world assets has been a very, very core pillar of what we build. And those are, I think, key differences.
And I think one thing, maybe you have it already or not, because it's with the James Wynn debacle, or let's say the main character arc in the past months. It feels like almost half the discussion around perp dexes or derivatives trading, like especially with size, involves or requires like privacy. Is it something that you maybe already have on Avantis, or you're looking to have, like whether you do it through kind of a dark pool or just some like ZK stuff encryption? Or you already kind of on the privacy train for Avantis?
Yeah, so the good thing about Avantis is that even if a whale trades like a $10 million Bitcoin clip, which they can trade right now, um, there is no way that the whale can move prices on Avantis. We use oracles. And from a risk perspective, we price an asset spreads based on the synthetic spreads taken from Binance and Coinbase, etc. And so people can't hunt a Bitcoin trader on Avantis because the trader is not trading or moving prices on Avantis, right? The trader just synthetically pays a spread to enter and exit a position. And so we are by default private in that sense. Um, I think that's the upside. The downside is that you cannot move prices as a whale by manipulating our books, which is like good or bad depending on how you see it, obviously. And so we think it's good because again, you don't have to like display opposition to the world and say like you can move prices to hunt me. I still think that regardless of like private order books, crypto market caps are not massive to the point where whales cannot just manipulate them anyway. And so I think obviously knowing someone's order helps you hunt them, but even not knowing someone's order, like private order books will still move prices in a certain way. And those price movements can be kind of wicked against. So they're a good solution, but I think it's not a big focus for us personally.
Very cool. Any other particular questions?
No, maybe the one I had, and I mean, it's not so, I still don't do it too much, so I feel it might not be a big leg up in terms of user and just like recurring activities. But so many people tell me that they now mostly trade on their phone, whether shitcoins or actual derivatives. And it doesn't feel like we start seeing a bit the first crypto apps, like in proper mobile application.
Hmm.
But it's still very, very rare. You most of the time end up on, and it's true for Hyperliquid and most other derivatives platform, they optimize kind of the website view from your mobile, but it's not like almost like your Revolut app. Or are you also kind of interested in or already focused on like getting just an app to into the hands of users, so almost they don't know there is a blockchain behind that?
Yeah, that's a absolutely we are for sure. I'll start by saying that interesting story. One like an Indian user reached out to us. He said like, love what you guys are doing at Avantis. I'm using it to trade FX in India, and but he said like, look, you guys don't offer MT5, which I'm not sure if you know what that is, but it's like a very popular trading terminal for FX traders. It's called MetaTrader 5. And that was the first time I heard about it because I only use TradingView. And so I think hearing about it, the guy said, look, I've made an app already. This is just for me, my own like sort of preferences. And it connects to the Avantis SDK to trade FX, but in a traditional kind of MT5 terminal. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know this exists, right? And so that got us thinking of like, we should definitely have apps built by fellow builders in their respective countries, which use Avantis liquidity. So we won't like run away with your funds. It's all self-custodial. That's all good. Um, However, in the format that people are used to, because nobody like in FX is using TradingView apparently for trading, which is something I did not know. Um, so, is it on the map? Absolutely, very important to have a robust mobile app. We are working on a native Avantis PWA coming out in 2 months. We will consistently hear that like, yeah, mobile is like our largest ZFP trader uses mobiles because he's an orthopedic surgeon and he trades in between his surgeries. That's also a fun fact, which is super weird and also cool at the same time. So he's like, dude, my stop loss isn't going. Your mobile app sucks. I just did my surgery. I'm like, why are you trading memes after a surgery? Like, why don't you, pray to God or something? But whatever. The point is very important priority for us. And also to build out apps in native countries in the way that people trade there, but using the same liquidity is also something that excites us.
I mean, if you haven't been to Korea yet, just do a subway trip in between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. Half the subway is just YOLOing on FX derivatives from their phone
Really? In Korea?
in Korea.
Wow, that's incredible.
So the next PR you'll get will be coming from Seoul, Korea, I guess.
I think I will be there next month, so I'm excited to figure that out. I thought derivatives are kind of banned at a country level, so I'm very surprised to hear that.
I mean, I won't have I mean, they trade like crazy. Maybe it's not an outright derivatives. It might be a
Spot,
repackaged
yeah,
one,
yeah,
but it's degen land.
Legion land. Okay, cool.
Um,
Awesome. And one last question, the favorite from my usual co-host is, if you had an advice to give to people that want to get into crypto and start their career, what would it be?
Yeah, I think there's a term that we all love to use, which is that, hey, are you crypto native? I think like that term basically means that are you someone who is very curious about exploring crypto for what it is and keeping an open mind to the opportunities and also the challenges that the space offers? I think once you kind of have gone through the journey of trying different apps and going deep, I think you're like finally like crypto native. I think like becoming crypto native is very important if you want to work in crypto. Um, so even if you're coming from TradFi or engineering or any other background and you want to start a career in crypto, I think being a part of communities, testing our products aggressively, reading, and not like when I say reading as in like proper in uninterrupted reading over coffee and not like just scrolling Twitter like mindlessly, I think will get you to a place where you feel very comfortable on the game theory, economics, and the tech that makes crypto what it is. And so I think if you're starting out, like do spend time like reading voraciously about architecture, docs, go to market, be an active user, participate in airdrops and communities, and invest and lose some money. And that's the biggest lesson. Hopefully, you make money. Hopefully, you don't lose money, but that's probably inevitable in the casino. So that's that. That's that. Yeah, have some fun, obviously.
And in your multiple years now of like daily grinding for and building on Avantis, is there something that comes to mind that like now you're like, oh, if only I knew this 2 years ago, I would have, I don't know, saved 6 months for like XYZ product on Avantis? Did you have like a big learning throughout building and like first building a derivatives exchange and beyond and getting all possibly more on the go-to market? Is there kind of big learning, kind of miss you had that you'd be happy to come back in time and fix it?
Yeah, we can be on this call for like hours if that's the question. So I'll just answer by saying that we've had a lot of misses, a lot, but we've also like gotten a lot of things right. And so I think, we like to kind of look at the upside and pats on the back of like getting some things right. And at the same time, we want to not keep looking back at like what we could have done better, but look forward to like what we will do better using those learnings. And so, yeah, man, lots of things like first time founder building in kind of building an app in an industry where apps are consistently um, kind of it's a knife fight, man. It's a knife fight every day. You know how it is. Like gaining market share, gaining like users in like a limited space. But I think it's exciting. Like it's exciting to build something where people are actually using it. People comment on how amazing the app has been for them. People comment on how much alpha they've gotten out of the app. I think it's a great feeling to kind of build in that space. So we're excited.
Amazing. Well, great. I mean, it was great having you, Seraj. I don't know if you have anything else that we didn't ask you about that you want, to close out with. Uh, if you do, go ahead, and if not, it was really fun having you for this chat.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us and looking forward to some exciting announcements with Bit as well. And your upcoming products where the whole team is like looking into laser and all the cool innovation you guys are doing. So definitely step ahead of everybody else as always. But we're looking forward to digging into that as well. Thanks for having us.
Amazing. Thank you, Seraj.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was a good one. So yeah, Avantis, zero fee perps. What else did we learn?
I mean, I did not know, and I thank Burke for it. That I mean, I had seen the raise announcement. I kind of had missed leverage sports gambling. As a gambler myself, I mean, I most often lose on sports. Quite excited to see how it's gonna shape, and just love the mentality where it's like on my last question, we're just like, no, I focus on my wins, and I think it's amazing. And like as we touched upon a few things, the zero fees, the FX kind of more LWA asset focus. I mean, that's how I think they managed to get differentiated versus the 10th fork of the classic GMX style, etc. So no, very cool. And I mean, Avantis, like as long as you focus on like user experience and like all they do with risk management, I mean you're on the correct track. And yeah, they've been killing it because base, I mean, it's pretty competitive out there. And yeah, they're constantly crushing it. So I mean, Chad confirmed.
Yeah, no, it was really good, and I mean, I don't think they're at 500x yet on the zero fee, but it's coming. So I mean, DGens can rejoice and go YOLO on some BTC, ETH, and Sol. But no, go check it out. And I think if you go in their docs, they have a roadmap page where you can see a bunch of the things that they're planning for this year. So super exciting. And I think they do. I mean, they're consistently over 100 million traded daily. It's been happening since March or April, so very cool stuff. And no, I think they focus where their main users are doing, so the big crypto markets. But excited to see their RWA come online with some pith feeds behind. So that should be cool. And to close out, I do not have a quiz for you guys. I do not know what app Chop is using. So just a big thank you to everyone who joined. And next week, I don't know. We don't know who's coming. So surprise. We'll announce next Tuesday, and we'll have, I'm pretty sure, a banger guest to come talk to us.
Bangers only season.
Yep. Thanks, Mark, for the time. Thanks, Sehaj, in retrospect. And Pythians, have a glorious Wednesday, and see you next week.
See you guys.